right before I started this video was Candace Owens. She was saying, if you are on the left, you are not my enemy. Basically saying no one is my enemy. We have to meet in the middle and stand against, unified as one, against the evil in this world. I mean, that's just straight facts. It really is. It's not left, right. It's nothing of that. It's just good versus evil. I mean, it really is. It really is. You know, I was on a live call earlier, which was really nice because it's been hard for me to get on live since I've got the, 9 to 5 dream. I took today and I got on a live call and I needed that. I really needed that. And it really opened my eyes to a lot of different things, even within myself, that I need to work on and change. I just think everybody's always evolving and healing and growing. Like there's no cap off to that. I think it's when you start recognizing that you aren't perfect. You don't have all the answers. And, you're not always right. You're not always right, and I never claimed to always be right. But I am strong enough to recognize when there's things within myself that I still need to heal. Like even when it comes to my drinking and stuff like that, because I've definitely used that as a coping mechanism. I don't drink to excess and stuff like that, but has it been used as a coping mechanism, particularly with this whole thing with Charlie? Yeah, absolutely. And so I own that. But, and I've also come to realize too that, I say that a lot, but the deeper I go into my shadows, the deeper I go into my healing, the deeper I go into evolution within myself, within my soul, within my spirituality, the deeper my reality goes around me. Those in my presence, those that are not in my presence, those that are energetically connected with me, the deeper I go for my better evolution to become the best version of myself, the more those around me can inspire to go deeper and look at themselves in the mirror if they choose to. Not saying they have to by any means. 222 as I say that. 222 was a number that we were on the live call. Dang, that's crazy. Well, there you have it, folks. But it came to me. I wanted to put out a quick message. I've been in management for years. I know a little something about management. And I'm not in management now. I'm not. And I have zero desire to be in management in another company. Whether it's later on down the road, management in my own company, by all means. But that said, I find it odd. I don't know why they don't go over this in management, like 101. If you go over and you classify and you get, that manager title, you get that accolade, you get that title. Like, it's really important to build like a trust and a safety with your employees, with your colleagues, with your coworkers, whether you're in management or not. You know what I mean? You have to build that trust between one another. And for example, when you're going in to correct someone or, criticize them or, provide some constructive criticism, then why don't you lead with a positive? Like, I don't understand why people don't lead with positives. Like, hey, I know you've been here such and such, but you're doing a great job. But these are some of the areas that I think that could probably use some of your, a little bit more eyes on it. A little bit more training, a little bit more this. I think there might be some things that we, you don't quite have an understanding of. So what, you know what I mean? There's just different ways that you can connect with people. There just are. But no. A lot of the times they're just like right in there. And it's just so funny because it's like, it's just, I don't know. It's ironic, the wheels in motion around this world. I'll tell you that. Whether you're in the career industry or the business industry, you're in the politics, you're in religious groups, you're in, like, there's just so many people that run on ego, and then they get fluffered when you don't. The positive then correct approach, psychologically side. Builds trust and safety. People receive feedback better when they feel seen and valued first. Seen and valued. Protects morals. Acknowledging effort before addressing errors can motivate high and prevent defensiveness. Exactly. Right? Improves retention of feedback. When the brain feels encouraged, it's more open to learning criticism along triggers rather than flight or fight. Spiritual side. Here's the spiritual side to that, you know? Like, it's ironic how people perceive themselves when they first start talking to you. This is what I've found in my walk in the last 2 years, is what I've picked up on, is 99% of the people that I've come in contact with, whether that's in like personal contact or in the working world at jobs and stuff like that, like at first glance are the sweetest people in the world, and they're like your besties, and they're so nice and kind. And then by 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, it's like completely different song and dance, and you're like, wait a minute, I think I just got whiplash. What happened there? You know? And it's just like, why? How do you change your tune so quickly? Something had to change within you to change how you're responding to someone when you're throwing jabs and stuff like that, but you're not doing it with humility or kindness. Like, you can correct people, but you can do it in a humble way. You definitely can. You don't have to be rude or snarky. Most people will respond to that and they'll respect you for it. Grace before correction. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt. Galatians 4:6. Speak with grace first. Truth lands best when wrapped in kindness. Truth lands best when it's wrapped in kindness, no doubt. Affirming their God-given value. Encourage one another and build up each other. Affirming their strengths reminds them that they have a purpose worth beyond mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. That's how you learn from them, right? But it also is important for all managers out there to recognize that there is a deliverance mechanism that probably could have a little bit softer of approach for you to receive more feedback and more respect. You know, a lot of the times there's people, you know, that work at these companies and stuff like that, and they're disgruntled because they just don't feel respected. They feel unseen, you know, and they feel underappreciated. And a lot of it is based off the deliverance of how things are said, how they are articulated. It really is. A little alarm. Correcting with love, not ego. Speak the truth in love. Ephesians 4:15. Feedback should lift someone closer to their potential than not tear them down. I know that. I just got a text. It's just like, really? You know, and again, I'm sure there was probably a better intent behind it, but it's just like, golly, I just don't understand people. Whenever I was in management, it was very difficult for me to do any kind of constructive criticism for a particular employee because they did nothing wrong. They never did anything wrong. And they knew all the answers. So, I mean, imagine trying to correct someone that already knows all the answers. Not to mention they were in cahoots with the boss, having their little good menage a trois. So it was really difficult for me. But I can tell you, during that experience, in that little angle of my season of life, I did learn a lot from them because it provided me humility and grace on how to approach different things. Because I had to walk on tippy toes around her, I had to figure out particular approaches, how to, you know, correct her or show her different ways to do things. And so I always had to like fluff it up. You know, you're doing such a great job. And these are the things that you're doing great at. But here's some areas that I think that maybe you could use a little bit more training or whatever the case may be. And so I just felt compelled to make this video because I feel like that needs to be said. You know, keep your team inspired, not intimidated. Really, I don't know why we live in a world of intimidation. Build the culture of respect and resilience. Reflect servant leaders like the Christ, firm but compassionate. You know, you have to go into every statement that you make, whether it's work related, personal, or between you and your significant other, your child, that you have to go into every statement, every relationship that you make as if it was God, the Most High, the Divine Spirit, Jesus, saying the words coming out of your mouth. And so when you say particular things to someone, you need to think to yourself, am I delivering it the way that God would probably deliver this? If you choose to. I'm not saying you have to, but I'm just saying these are things that help me. Cushion the blow a little bit. And then when people are, you know, a little blah with me, I'm just like, whatever. You know, I just don't sweat. Believe in myself, resting and receiving. That's my thing, is I've got to rest because I'm kicking the pavement with both jobs, and I've got just all different angles coming at me. You know what I mean? And it's really sad what they're doing to Charlie and all these videos I see and everything, and just how they're siphoning so much energy harvesting right now.